Hi, everyone. Tonight we're going to do a couple of things to honor all that's been happening in the last 36 hours, 24 hours, however long it's been. I don't know about all of you, but for both Forrest, Anna, and myself, yesterday really hit us hard, and it hit each one of us in very, very different ways.
I was out this morning with the dogs and I just looked at the world and I thought the world is emptier. And it reminded me of the last time I had to put a dog down in our house, that when you lose a dog, it's like your house is empty. There's a spirit that's missing. And I was outside with the dogs and they were doing their chores and I just thought the world is an emptier place today. I've never felt that before, but it's like there is a hole in the universe. It's been tough.
So we want to take just some time in the beginning, and I wrote down some thoughts as I was out walking and had time with the Lord this morning. And so I just want to share some of those thoughts. And then what we're going to do is share some stories tonight that are just extraordinarily special, very special. And then we're just going to open it up to Q&A. This isn't like a big sales time. This is a community time. And you're part of our family, your community, and so we want it to be a heart community. So, some thoughts I had today that will tie in with the season that God's put us in since January, and we wanted to tie that together. Charlie Kirk lived full out as the man God created him to be. He knew his purpose and identity early in life, and he never had to make someone else wrong to be fully Charlie. That's so powerful. And he did it by the age of 31. Think where you might have been at age 31. I think back in where I was at 31 and
He actually started the journey in high school. So he was on track with purpose
a long time.
when most of us were trying to figure out how we were going to buy a car and a pizza.
So he is a kingdom hero, and we honor him for his life, his mission, and his example. We pray for the Lord's comfort for his family, his team, his community, and our world, because he left a mark that will never be erased. And
I
I,
just had a thought I had on that. It kind of reminds us a little bit of when the disciples were sitting there at Calvary going, "Oh my gosh, the world just became an empty place." And then the 12 of them went out and changed the entire world. And I was watching the kids at Liberty University pray today or yesterday, whenever it was. And I thought, how many kids are going to take up the cross and go out and change the world because of this? And it's tough that his family has to suffer, but there's going to be people that pick up where he left off and go with it. It's going to be pretty amazing, I think.
and I've seen a lot of that just in different comments on social media. Just it caused me to have some time of introspection with the Lord, and it's like our world is changing so rapidly right now. What used to take 5, 10 years, it's happening in months, sometimes weeks. And our brain, all of our brain was never intended to handle this kind of change that's going on. And if we're under a lot of just daily stress, I don't know if I've talked about this on this call, but for the last 10 years or so, we have learned and been operating in a lot of neurology and just the basics of this part of your brain that makes decisions. It's logical. It's where you're also creative. You have fun. You make decisions. And this part is all about keeping you safe. So when our brain pathways in our nervous system and brain don't feel safe for whatever reason, and right now it can simply be because of all that's happening, all the world change going on. Things aren't predictable, they're not familiar, they're not known, and they really haven't been since 2020.
Actually, when we look at the history of the human brain, it has not had any time to catch up with or deal with most of the world we've lived in. If you think today was 9/11, so that's been what, 24 years, 23 years? Our brain literally was not designed to handle this much change because change neurologically represents threat. The brain determines safety based on predictability. So if I see a pit bull walking down the street loose, I'm going to predict that that might not go well, especially if I've been attacked by one before. So even if it's a really friendly pit bull, this goes into the threat mode. And that's what it was designed to do, to get us in and out of threat occasionally. And what I'm most excited about with what we're doing today at Lifestyle for Health is having an understanding of what that looks like to the brain, and then how can we somehow begin to coach people through, and for Cheryl may find the people that are coaching us through this season of having to adapt this thing, the brain, our spirit, our emotions, to a world that it wasn't designed to handle. So, Cheryl, go ahead with that.
So the end of last year, I knew that God was bringing us into a season transition,
You and me.
both of us.
Yeah.
And I know what season changes look like, and it's a whole lot better to be ahead of the curve than to have missed it and have to catch up
Let me
because
let me give a word picture. Last week I went to Costco and they had winter coats. It's still really nice outside, but I know there's a season change coming because Costco just told me, because there's winter coats there. So whether I like it or not, I'm walking to Costco going, winter coats. It's like season change. I'm not ready for it, but it is coming. Therefore, we need to prepare in advance for it.
and one of the things I've learned about season changes is what you had grace for in the old season, that grace lifts and it becomes very hard, laborious, and wearisome to try and do it in the new season. And I knew that was changing because as much as I enjoy working with clients, the client day schedule was becoming wearisome. And so I knew something was shifting. I had no idea what God was going to lead us into and why. I didn't know anything. I just said, Forrest, I know the season's changing,
Which created conflict because I told Cheryl, well, we kind of pay the bills by you seeing clients.
which
And
really that's not where the bulk of our
no,
income
it's
comes
it's
from,
my sense,
but it's your mindset. It was your familiar piece.
my familiar piece is
Familiar
we see
piece.
clients, and that keeps this whole thing going. And Cheryl's like, season change coming. I'm really tired of seeing clients in a nice way. She said that. I'm thinking, so I'm actually been living the first half of the year somewhat in fear of just like, okay, I'll just trust. I wasn't even willing to trust God with it. I said, I just have to trust that Cheryl's hearing from God on the season change piece.
So I just want to share a couple of things that happened and that's allowed us to be where we're at. First of all, this 10 years, it's about a decade of neurology and learning all the resets and all the certification Forrest has gone through. I've only been through about 20% of what he's been through, but it changed our world. And I remember the very first class I sat in, there were all these world Olympic athletes, personal trainers. They were just amazing athletes. And there was me. I was by far the oldest person in there, and I'm not an Olympic athlete, obviously, or a personal trainer.
That was back when you were young and you were the
Oh,
oldest person in there.
it was 10 years ago. So I was like, I think I was 60 when I was in there, 72 now. And you had to go around and introduce ourselves and in the past being in that environment with all the athletes that would have been absolutely terrifying and I probably would have walked out, but I decided no, I'm not going to do that. I've paid to be here. I want to be here. I want to learn something. And so I introduced myself and I said, obviously I'm a lot older than all of you and I'm not the athlete that you guys are. However, I ask great questions and I refer a lot of business out. And at the end of the class, I don't know how many of the people who'd already been through Dr. Cobb multiple times say, that was the best class we've ever attended because of your questions. And I could have missed all that had I been intimidated with the people I was around. But that opened the door, and as he was teaching, it was like light bulbs went off because I just got it. It was perfectly timed for that season. And I'm so thankful that we went through that because all those things prepared me to go through a very significant head injury amazingly well. And God's just given us tools at the right time in a season that not only helps us, it ends up helping a lot of other people. Along with that, what started happening sometime in the spring, we started listening to Jamie Winship. He's
You
on
guys might just write that
YouTube.
name down.
Why don't you put
Okay,
it in the
Ron
chat?
likes him. Cheryl found, here's what's interesting. Every time there's a change coming, anybody notice that God starts bringing you exactly what you need a little bit ahead of time? And so Jamie showed up on a podcast that Cheryl was randomly listening to. And and then she sent it to me and I listened. It was like the guy that was doing the podcast was good, but Jamie was like crazy.
Brilliant.
Jamie's whole piece is identity, your identity in the Lord. And that ties into tonight's call because what we saw in Charlie Kirk was a man who fully knew and lived his identity without fear. And he said his greatest fear was that he would not represent his faith. So as we've been doing Jamie Winship this year, it's been pulling up all of my issues on identity. Because when we've, I'll just jump into, when I was 20 years old, 18 years old, I was in Paris with my grandmother. My dad sent me to Paris, to Europe, and my grandmother and I spent a year in Paris, in Europe together. And the reason I got to go was my dad needed somebody to carry my grandmother's luggage. Well, it turns out my grandmother is my wife's age, and my wife can carry her own luggage. So I guess we're running ahead of that curve. But I was trying to figure out what to do with my life. And I was laying on a bed in a little hotel in Paris that we spent about $10 a night for. We shared a room, two double beds. We turned our heads when we changed clothes at night. I did that for 9 months with my grandmother. And I was laying there sort of half asleep, and I was like, Lord, what do you want me to? And I didn't even know the Lord then. I was just kind of praying, but I didn't know what I was doing. I said, what am I supposed to do? I'd like to become a school teacher, but that's the route to poverty. But it was my passion. And there was literally a white light and an audible voice in that room that said, Forrest, go become the teacher you want to be, and I will always take care of you. At which point I realized I should open my eyes because I would see God. Well, by the time I opened my eyes, the white light and the voice was gone. But that never left me. So for like the next 10 years of my life, I did that. And you know what? Everything was easy. It all worked. It all flowed. And I didn't even know what I was doing. And then Cheryl and I got married and I got off track.
But your dad died.
My dad died and I
That
got
was
off
her.
track. And I got
Right.
divorced and I got off track. I got married and I got off track. And the majority of my life, and then I quit teaching school and went and tried to sell life insurance because that was the world's path to making a lot of money. From that day until not too long ago, I was off track with my purpose. And a lot of it, in the early days, it was like Cheryl's successful and famous. I'll just be the book table boy. That was my identity. I'll just take care of all of Cheryl's stuff. Anne remembers back then she was with us. And so this identity piece with Jamie has been really cool because we are in a new season. And it's like, okay, time to dig back into identity because why would I want to forego? I've got two choices now at 72. I can call it quits, live on a Social Security check and a few other things, or I can listen to my wife and the Lord on season change, and we can step up and do what we are called to do in this season. So I've been asking, Jamie has these questions, Ron knows them. He said, ask the Lord who he says you are. And I would encourage you guys. So he's got a book called Living Fearless. You shall write that down. Go to Amazon, order it tonight. And you can watch his YouTube videos first to get excited. There's a ton of them out there. But Living Fearless is his book. And then he has a workbook, a little workbook that you do called Living Fearless Daily Journal. And it really digs into you sitting down with the Lord in your quiet time and saying, Lord, who do you call me to be? And guess what he's back to calling me to be? This time I went from teacher to my beloved teacher and my beloved son. I was like, oh, I got to figure out what that word means. And so that is laying the groundwork for where we're now going. I was like, well, that's great, but not sure quite how that still pays the bills. I hope Cheryl's got a plan for that part. Um, yeah, thank you for that, Ron.
Graham
Um,
Cook is also good.
and Janine's got Living Fearless. I would probably not have read his book if I hadn't watched him a few times on YouTube and heard his story. His story is crazy amazing. So that brings us kind of to today.
So, one of the things that happened for me in listening to Jamie is he had incredible stories. Living in Muslim countries and the stories of how he connected with people so that they could meet God. He was out of the box thinking. He operated like Jesus. And I was compelled by his stories to ask more questions. And he's also just phenomenal at asking
Questions?
pivotal questions. And so for over 3 or 4 months in my walk at night, I started asking those questions. Lord, who have you called Lifestyle for Health to be in this season? Because you gave us Lifestyle for Health in, I think it was 1990.
I gave it to you, and I was in a mess back then, but that's when
You
it
gave
kicked
it
it up.
to us
Yeah.
35 years ago, and it's gone through different seasons. And I knew then we were in a season change, but it's not going to be Cheryl the practitioner or Cheryl the author. It's not going to be Cheryl doing just lots of television. It's not going to be Cheryl
No
poking
television.
fingers and doing body scans. It's different. It's changed. And so I said, Lord, who is Lifestyle for Health? And who have you called Forrest and Anna and me to be, not do, but be? And I pursued those questions for months, months. Then the next piece of this,
Was that's a little misnomer from listening to Jamie on YouTube. He says, we have a meeting and then we ask these questions and then people cry and they're set free. I'm like, no, it doesn't happen in an hour. These are questions you dig into, right?
yes, and if you're in easy, we're going to be talking about a whole series of questions for out of the box thinking next week, because we didn't do it this week. We didn't do it yesterday. We'll do it next week. But the next thing that happened, these little things had been on the shelf for a year, and I ignored them because I thought they were dumb. I thought they were hokey. I just thought they
The,
were
the
goofy.
company actually sent them to us at no cost or expense to ourselves. They sent them to us and hoped that we would have insight and revelation looking at those.
So continue this season change December, January. And then Jamie is teaching us and teaching us about identity and asking questions. And then I don't even remember how I ended up being introduced to Dr. Anna Toker and
We found a YouTube video.
well, but I don't even know how I found it. So anyway,
I sent
okay,
it to
maybe
you.
Forrest sent it. So I listened to her and it was another one of those epiphanies, like when I went and listened to Dr. Cobb. It was an epiphany, like when I listened to Jamie, it was like, I get this. I get this. And I get this is my heart. This is my passion because I know that my identity is to be a wise, beautiful woman of God. God gave me that at age 11. But I know that the calling and the mission is to empower people to be the whole person God created them to be. And I am seeing people struggle in this season because of this massive change, what's happening to brains. They're not operating in their strengths and their identity and their callings. They're back here barely surviving. And I said, Lord, I can't reach enough people just testing them one on one in the office with the body scan. I said, that season is over. It's too slow. Even with everything we learned in neurology, which is so important and we do it and it is important. However, when people are hurting, like some of the stories we're going to share tonight,
It takes
it's
time.
too slow.
It's too hard.
People, it's that it's too slow. If you can get brain pathways put back into balance, but more than that, that's what Super Patch does, and it's a tool. It's a tool. Boris and I want to embrace what we've been learning in this journey, and that is in empowering people to discover their identity. Because once you understand your identity, God will call you to transforming part of the world, your world, with your unique skills and giftings because of your identity. Your identity won't come from what you're doing. You bring your identity into what you're doing and you bring transformation. And that's what I saw so clearly as I was looking at Charlie, his life, and what was said about him is he just lived his identity at peace with himself. He was clear on who he is, who he was. And he didn't have to make someone else wrong to be. And so what we've been learning from Jamie for about 3 months. Who has God called you to be in this season?
Can I just say, Charlie's assassination created urgency for me on that. I was digging into this, but it was casual. I was like, maybe yes, I want to do it. Maybe yes, I don't want to do it. Yeah, I know I'm supposed to, but it's too hard. The last 2 days have created urgency for me. Now, she said this, those of you who know her, Darlene, you know her. There's a different urgency in her voice right now with this. And for the last since the 1st of August, she's been speaking to me like that. And I'm like, whoa, what am I going to do about it? And then this week, and I guess what we've got to do with, for me, Jamie's death says,
Not Jamie's,
uh,
Charlie's.
Charlie's death, it was a catalyst. There was a catalyst that we all have will I ever be a Charlie Kirk? No. But can I be fully Forrest? That's the journey right now. Can I be fully Ann? Can I be fully Mark? Can you become fully you in this season? Anna texted me. We got a little friend. He does yard work for me. Great Ben's a freshman in high school. And Charlie was his hero. And Anna said, Dad, don't forget you need to be there for Ben because this is a tough season for him. So we've all got Bens we need to be there for. We've all got people that we've got to be there for. So
So we're going to share stories tonight. And one of the
how did this
stories, just a minute.
how did this get you into the Super Patch game? That was the next part of your story.
So when I heard Dr. Anna that anytime you use a patch, they have tested it with an EEG brain test first to identify a dysfunctional brain pathway, put a patch on, it goes to balance, take a patch off, it goes back to imbalance. And they did it in hospital settings, double-blind placebo with a 0.0001 chance of it being a placebo, which means 1 in 1,000, which is statistically insignificant. She went through all the science on it, and because of the neurology background, the health background, hers is colorectal, so she talked about the gut and the brain connection, the vagus nerve. She was talking my language, but as a doctor, and it just lined up with everything
She
that
triggered stuff in you
it
to say,
triggered stuff in me that came alive. And I said, God, I don't want to miss out on seeing transformation in people's lives on a broader scale than sitting there holding their hands and poking fingers. It was like, I appreciate all that I've learned. I appreciate what I learned when I have the opportunity to work with someone one on one. But I'm seeing there's too many people that are being shut down by all of this change, this chaotic world, and the battle that's going on. And so, not only helping people use a tool, but also discovering their identity to be as crystal clear as Charlie's. That's a passion. And as Forrest and I have been playing with the patches, I want to share our story, and then we're going to jump into some other really cool stories.
because we will have time for some questions tonight too.
That's going to be our
So the first
primary purpose.
part of the call, this is not normally what we're doing these calls, but you know, we needed to have a segue into where we're going and what we're doing. That's appropriate for this week.
So over a period, however long it was, I figured out the patch combination that worked for me.
After you discovered the one, okay, Ron, the reason we almost didn't sell the patches is because they did not work for her. In fact, they created a problem for her, which was an interesting part of your journey.
Because most people do really, really well on the Liberty patch, and we're going to see a phenomenal video on that in just a minute. That didn't work for me. But instead of trying to do in the box thinking, which is kind of how the company presents it, because it's true for most people, I've learned that I don't usually fit in that category. Uh, but as I listened to Anna, and then I understood what each of the patches did, I pretty quickly identified the ones that made sense to me. And it was, for me, it's peace, joy, boost. And then I'm doing Lumi, and I'm seeing a lot of skin changes. And we'll be doing this in Easy in a few weeks. But Lumi is more than just skin. It's helping with collagen being deposited in the body, which means it's not only going to change your external skin, it's going to change gut, because leaky gut is lack of collagen. So when she said that, it's like, well, isn't that kind of cool? Anyway, so that was why I'm doing the skin. But peace, joy, and boost for me are pretty amazing. All kinds of stories. I don't want to share that part. But Forrest started working with peace, focus, and boost. And I want to share with you what's happening with us, because I think this is another key part of the
Yes,
process.
in context to season change, spiritual growth. Jamie, there's a lot of pieces right now coming together in a special way. So this enhanced that journey. It was a piece
Took it
that
to another
it
level.
was a piece that put it was a missing piece. Yeah.
So for those of you who know Forrest, you know that we're slightly different.
Let's put it this way. We're lucky we're still married. If I didn't have a daughter, we'd have been out of here 39 years ago. So the daughter held it. Literally, Anna held us together through a lot of stuff because at that point in my life, I knew my purpose as a dad was to hold the marriage together on behalf of my daughters. So that was, the foundational piece.
So we did learn, though, how to be pretty independent and keep strife out of our home. So we have a peaceful home and we haven't had strife. That's a big deal. But as we started both putting different brain pathways into balance, we're collaborating. And what the Lord showed me that because of our unique differences, when we collaborate together and with Him, that's when we multiply. When we were over here doing this, this is at best addition. And
At
he's
best, I was just going to buy a trailer and go camping half the time, get away from it. But that was where my brain went. It's like, I'm going to get a trailer like my brother and just go camping with the dogs. That was my exit strategy.
and I would hear that and I'd go, God, I know that's not what you've called us to, but I also knew it wasn't my role to say anything to him. That what I could pray was, Lord, show us who you've called Lifestyle for Health to be. Show Forrest who you've called him to be. Show Anna who you've called her to be. Show me who you've called me to be in this season. Months of that prayer, night after night after night after night. And I wasn't sure what was going to happen, but I chose to trust that God would answer that prayer because it made sense that he would because it was so heavy and strong in my heart. And so as all these pieces started coming together and the stories that are coming in, it's like when I first started all those years ago and I didn't really know anything, but God showed up with clients and I'd be, wow, maybe I should even ask them to come back.
You didn't know that, did you? And back there, she didn't really know what she was doing. We were just faking it, but we thought we knew what we were
We
doing.
weren't faking it. We were doing the best we knew how with what we knew in that
And
season.
weren't really volunteers when we were first getting started, like 30 years ago.
So I wanted to share that this is now a passion. These are a tool, but what Forrest and I are coming together is this whole idea of understand your identity so that you can bring transformation to the world God has put you in with your unique skills. Because Forrest is amazing at talking to people on the phone. I'd rather almost have a
We
tooth
have a
pulled than do
song
that.
about that. Don't be afraid. You can call me, call me.
See, that's why he's entertaining.
And I'm in the yellow pages too, so let your fingers do the walking.
And then if if it were left up to Forrest to have content and notes and YouTube videos and all that, that wouldn't happen. So it's together. And I see that God, and I've asked God, as He's invited us clearly into this season with this tool and this whole process, I said, Lord, show us who you're inviting into this process with us, with their unique skills, so that we can go out and bring transformation with all the things you've taught us now for decades. So tonight, I probably won't ever share this exactly the same way, but this is my heart. And I think what inspired me to share it tonight was watching a 31-year-old man, husband, and father know that he was putting his life on the line every day, but he knew he was called to do it. And that kind of passion is only God inspired. It's only God inspired. You can't make that up. And it touched something in me, and it touched off a heart, it touched off a passion. And I'm asking the Lord, okay, Lord, show us step by step. How do we do this? How do we live out what you're showing us? What do you want us to know? What are you showing us? Help us to know how to interpret it. Correct us when we get off course. So as we move into sharing some stories tonight, these are just the tip of the iceberg of things that we're hearing and seeing. And so I think we're going to start first with Monica.
So this is, again, I want to put this in context. Super Patch has some pretty big vision statements. The founder of the company, Jay, has been working on this for like 17 years. And just kind of the backstory, he says, I have 26 more patches locked up in the vault that my lawyers will not let me sell because if we started selling them and we started curing the diseases that they cure, the government would put us out of business. So there is, and he said, and we have to have a product we can take to the world. Okay, now this is Monique was in my office on Tuesday. She saw Cheryl's notes on a super patch. She was familiar with them. She'd ordered them. Ron, she had some. She didn't know what to do with them. So she showed up in the office and So she was in she took a really bad fall about a year ago, broke her nose, broke her face, months in the hospital. She's a massage therapist. She's German. She understands neurology, but they have not been able to put Humpty Dumpty back together again with all of the work she's been going through. So amazing transformation. And then turn around and go back one more time. This is her. I just do a gait assessment. Her just walking down the hallway in our house. This is how she walks. You're cautious, aren't you? Watch what's coming. Watch. Okay. Vestibular system shot. Okay. When you're ready. Okay. Resetting the visual system. Yes. That's how she's been living this year. Patch just went on. Oh my goodness. Do it one more time. Wow, it's amazing. Yeah. You feel better? Yes. Wow, I have no thought it would be that fast with me. That was like 30 seconds difference. Let's just go back to. Okay. Transformation. And then turn around and go back one more time. Now I can treat all
A
this.
second. Notice her head being very stiff, her arms barely moving.
She's
very rigid.
She's actually got bobblehead, which is a visual vestibular issue. Okay? Yeah. Okay. When you're ready. Okay. Wobbly. Yes. The whole system is not working. You do? Oh my goodness. I didn't know this would happen. This was just, let's film and see what happens. One more time. Wow, it's amazing. Now, if we take the patch off, she goes back to the previous gait. Yeah. Wow, I have no thought it would be that fast with me. Wow.
Okay, let's go back.
This is a short video clip of a client of ours, Monica. How'd that happen? I've not seen her in quite a while. Hold on. Due to an injury she had from falling and hitting her head. Now, where'd my Zoom call go?
You lost it.
Hold on, everybody. I'll be back. I got to find you. Something went wrong. Can everybody hear me? Shoot.
Look in your tray down below.
Oh, there it is. Thanks, Ron. There we go. Okay. So when I showed Cheryl that video, she said, do you understand why I think we need to be doing this and why you should stop being mealy-mouthed, wishy-washy about this? That was a $1.50 patch that has braille bumps on one side of it, that has $25 million in investment behind it by the owner of the company trying to figure out how to help his mother who has MS walk. That's where that came from. And that changed Monica's neurological functioning of her brain. When we talk about all of the overwhelm, all of the stuff going on in the world, that is happening in different levels in all of us in different ways. The brain goes into threat, it shuts down. And what that particular patch did for her was it reset that brain pathway. All of this stuff that happens back here in the cerebellum, that the Liberty patch is designed to come up into the cerebellum, which is the little brain, the old brain in the back here, that is responsible for four things. One is your safety, but two, accuracy, balance, and coordination. Accuracy, balance, and coordination all happens like instantaneously in the cerebellum. If you had to think about staying balanced every time you moved and go, oh, I just moved my arm, I need to counterbalance, you would never make it. So your cerebellum keeps you together instantly. And so what we did was somehow we reset the nervous signals from the eyes, okay, all that wobbly bobblehead, the visual system, the vestibular system, the ear canals, and then all of the proprioceptive nerves in her feet or ankles, all of those reconnected like if you hit reset on a GPS system. And it just put all of this back onto the same pathway. And then the brain said, oh, we can do this. And we can't say she was healed. If the patch comes off, she will instantly go back to the other. But I know, Dorothea, you kind of like leaving the patch on. Dorothea's story, very similar to that. We won't do your story tonight, I don't think, Dorothea, but basically almost an identical story, except hers was a result of getting a shot she had to get for work a couple of years ago.
And using a cane.
And using a cane to walk with. So that's, and then Cheryl's going to tell a story about one
Just
other
a minute,
person.
just a
Okay.
minute. So, with all that we've learned in neurology for 10 years, we know things that can be done to put people back together, and we know they work. It takes time. When you identify the patches of the brain pathways that are out of balance and dysfunctional in you, what the patch does for that brain pathway is instantly back into balance, which gives you margin and capacity, if you choose to begin to work on the things that will expand that capacity. And when you really get to that concept, you have to sort of veg on it. You have to think on it because that's what I got. That was the epiphany that I got from Dr. Anna. Because when the cerebellum is activated with all the things that Forrest just gave you, and the vagus nerve, and then the gut, those are all the things that that particular patch works on. It's like, that's phenomenal. And so what we did is we collapsed time so people could speed up their connection. And as we are also helping people be so much more clear on their identity, there's a purpose. There's a purpose for you to be at your best no matter what your age is. If Moses didn't start until 80, I don't think any of us are too old, period.
Well, he had that staff that you got to lean on. He had a staff he walked with, so we don't know how much he relied on his staff as a cane.
Okay.
Just a thought.
And then, at least for us, learning this collaboration so we can multiply.
Go ahead to that. We actually made a joint decision to go there. Putting the patch on didn't solve the problem. It just helped us solve a problem we both wanted to solve. I think that's fair to say, isn't it?
Well, it also, may I say this?
You can say whatever you want, because I just better not say that.
So when Forrest is, his nervous system is at peace and he has energy and he's focused, he's amazing.
Been
He's just
40 years,
amazing.
been 40 years of marriage to get there.
It's a process. So anyway, we're going to go on to the next story. This one, we don't have a video, but hopefully the husband's going to get involved with a video. A couple of you know this person. She's in her 60s. She had a stroke. I think it was in April of last year. So I have shared that her right arm and right leg were not moving. So I sent her a patch, told her to put it here because that's where the problem was. Nothing happened. So this is again where I think we bring a lot of skill and insight to help where things seem not to work. So I sent her a new batch. I don't know, it took like a week to get to wherever she is in Texas. And I had her put it right here. And she actually was able to do that herself, which was a big deal. So I'm sure she had to do it with her left hand because this right hand doesn't move. So I'm going to read to you what happened starting on, this is Thursday. Started Tuesday. It's really special when it's friends, somebody you've known for almost 30 years. Okay, I got to tell you, I'm absolutely blown away if this is what a patch can do. I could barely walk 10 feet using a supportive device yesterday, and today I was able to do 48 feet. No, I'm sorry. She went over 10 feet. She was able to do it without a device, and she was able to do 48 strong, which I don't know what that is. It's some sort of a program at this PT facility. And I was also able to lift my right leg for the first time in a year and a half. I'm over the moon. I was so excited for her. And her husband said, I've got my wife back. So they were excited on Tuesday. And then,
Just so you know, he's been taking her to the bathroom. He's been getting her up and down for a year. He has been
year and a half.
year and a half. He has been doing everything to make her mobile in a trailer they live in.
So she was so excited about that in the morning. And then she wanted to be able on the same day, remember, to celebrate small wins. So she had done something she hadn't been able to do. But then she wanted to be able to, with her right foot, take a step up. And on Tuesday, she couldn't do it. So she texted me. I encouraged her. I prayed for her. And then she texted me this morning because this is what happened on Wednesday. Well, just wanted to report in and let you know that the small step I couldn't take yesterday that had me in tears was overcome, and I did it 4 times today. That's just kind of exciting, isn't it? Because I have prayed for her for a year and a half.
and sent
Lord,
her supplements.
I've sent supplements. We haven't charged her for it. Another person has an account with us just to help people that don't have extra resources. I've done body scan testing. We've sent supplements. None of them was helping her to walk. And there was one time, only one time in this whole year and a half, she said, Cheryl, maybe I don't have a purpose anymore. And I said, Lord, you never have us on this earth without a purpose. I don't know what to say. So this is during all that time when I was doing so much soul searching. And and so again, it was back to Dr. Anna. You don't put it where there's nerve damage, you put it where there's no nerve damage. And then it's also teaching people to celebrate your wins. And so anyway, 48 hours, I think that's pretty amazing. Now, Anne, would you like to share because you sent me these notes. You want to share or you want me to read them? What does that mean?
Means,
You want me to read them?
yeah, she doesn't want Mark to
Okay.
have to turn on the computer.
So we've known Anne for a long time. She's actually a friend with the woman who I just talked about with the stroke. So if I have it right, she had a Bell's palsy episode in 2007. Is that right? So a lot of her skills and movements became awkward and diminished. And Focus was the first patch that she used. It went well. Liberty was her second patch. She tried the following day. You might
She's
mute.
Anne's ready to talk if we need her to talk.
Do you want to add something, Anne? Okay. Let me figure out where I'm at. She said, at first I felt a little bit odd at first, because if you haven't been moving well and you start moving, the brain's going, what's going on? Not truly dizzy or lightheaded, but something in that realm. It passed very quickly. I have not done much sewing since moving to Florida, due to all the things that happened with the Bell's palsy episode. I tried the Focus patch yesterday and started a baby bonnet today with the Liberty and Focus. I finished the bonnet and packaged it with a poem. Sewing, especially with just a needle and thread, felt awkward. Sometimes I'd drop the needle out of my hand. Today, sewing, bows, ribbon, and lace felt natural again, slow but familiar. And Anne is an extremely accomplished seamstress. She's made gifts for me and done work for us. She didn't lose the ability, she wasn't connected to it. And this brainwave pathway got connected so that she could do what she knows how to do, but the connection had been lost. I don't know if you guys get excited about that, but I do.
We're watching time.
Okay.
We need to open up for Q&A.
The last one I'll share, and then we'll open it up for Q&A and whatever you guys want to do. So some of you know Desiree, who I've talked about in the Easy group. I've mentored her for quite a while, and she does a lot of the emotion code, body code work with clients. And one of the first patches that she tried was REM. And she had a little bit of a reaction to it, so she just cleared some emotions. But she has a pretty traumatic past. But she was determined to, and she was really praying through this, Lord, I want to be able to sleep through the night. I just want to be able to sleep through the night. I think she's 40. And so what she found very early on with the REM patch is she would sleep deeper and she'd wake up refreshed instead of groggy, even if her sleep was interrupted. So she just played with it. It was almost 2 months that she played with it. And today she sent me a note. Last night was the first night I've slept through the night and I had the REM patch, and I'm believing for more nights like this. Because she identified what was keeping her up with the trauma. She knew how to use her unique skills to clear that. God's not going to expect that of you when that's not your unique skills. So I'm sharing stories all over the place. And I just get excited because I see how we can go out and impact a world that's struggling when we have an army of people who know who God's created them to be, who want to bring transformation with their unique skills. And we have an amazing tool that can help people do it.
The other huge benefit to this product is it's not a supplement, not a drug, it's not a medication. So there's no legal restrictions to it going into any country in the world. If you want to send it to somebody around the world, it goes in an envelope. You stick 79 cents on it. So we have sold pills, potions, and lotions to be a phrase for a long time where people got to take stuff. And we still take a lot of those, by the way. Still got a cup full and take our, you know, the food, the diet, the nutrition. But this has been a really interesting, what I thought was kind of like a funky little hokey tool that's opening up a lot of doors to support everything else we've done. Like now with Monica, what I want to do now, she's walking. Now we have to go in and begin teaching retraining the nervous system. I can actually work with her nervous system. We can begin doing drills. If I take somebody like Dorothea, who hasn't been walking, we can get her doing some more stuff on a rebounder. We can add club training back in. So once we put balance, and I'm going to start doing, by the way, some videos after I get through this little challenge, but I'm going to start doing training videos because if I say, you need to go for a walk, or you need to get on a rebounder, or you need to swing a heavy club, or you need to swing a kettlebell, and you have no balance, or I need to say, let's do an ankle tilt or a knee circle, or let's do some eye drills. If we put the pieces together, then we have the capacity to go in and begin training the rest of those nerve pathways to actually work functionally on their own, as opposed to just having to have the patch. So this will become what I think gives us margin for helping people expand their ability to stay fit, move. Ron just put up a note, he's going to be 80 here in a couple more months. Ron wants to keep moving the rest of his life. I don't know if he's got grandkids or a lawn to mow or something, but we've all got things that we want to do in the next decade of our life. Ron wants probably got a bunch of stuff he wants to do when he's 81. So we have to train and prepare today. It's my new motto. You got to train today for what you want to do tomorrow. You've got to train this year for what you want to do next year. But if we've lost our ability to move, if we've lost our ability to be at peace, if we've lost our ability to have calm, if we've lost our ability to sleep, then it becomes really hard when I get on. Like Dorothea, when we started this, I said, Dorothea, just get on the rebounder and bounce. It'll fix things all. Like, it's a lot easier for her to get, I said it because she bought a rebounder from me. It's a lot easier for her to do the rebounder now that she has her balance back. So you see how this all comes together? She doesn't get to not exercise. She's still got to exercise, but now exercise has become easier for her. And that's where we're headed with this. My interactions with Cheryl have become easier instead of me having to sit there and go, just breathe, Forrest, just breathe. You can handle this conversation. Just breathe. Smile and pretend it's great, but just breathe. Um, Now I put on the peace, and if it's not going well, Cheryl looks at my arm. She's like, "You got your peace patch on?" I said, "Yeah, it's on my butt. You can't see it." She said, "It's not on. You better go put it on." And by the way, you can't put them on your butt. Dr. Anna, when she's doing surgery, she wears hers on her butt because she can't have stuff on her arms when she's doing surgery. So, they go on her butt. So you can use your butt, you can use your thigh. They can go any place on your body where you've got smooth skin that's not all sweaty. Look, like for Darlene and Marla down there in the south, you got to figure out where you're not sweating so these don't just come sweating off of you right away. The ankle's a really good place to put them.
Sometimes top of the foot, bottom of the foot.
So,
But let's
okay, let's open the call up.
I thought we'd finish all that 10 minutes ago. Hopefully, I just would like your feedback or questions or comments or thoughts. We shared our heart tonight.
Mostly you did. I kind of still kept mine for myself. I don't have the heart patch on.
Cheryl and Forrest, that's why I'm here, is because of your heart.
Thanks,
And
Ron.
you said something in last night's call when you said, you know, you need to notice and then sit there and say, God, what do you want me to see? What do you want me to know? Which is right out of Jamie Winship and his stuff. So I'm resonating with everything you're saying because I've been on this journey too. And my two key things is how to help people know their identity and how to help people do a two-way conversation with God. Those are my two driving things. And God gave me this declaration 2 weeks ago, and I says, Lord Father, I am who you say I am, the righteous Son of the Most High, because of Jesus. And that's my identity. I'm a righteous Son of the Most High.
And
So
you probably
I'm
said
happy
that
to be
going to
here.
church. You've known that going to church for forever. And at 79, we met Ron at a Jonathan Kahn conference that Craig Hill put on. And I had a table there and Ron came up and introduced himself. I still remember Ron
Yep,
coming
yep,
up. I think he bought one of Cheryl's books.
yep.
Now,
That's where
Ron,
it
I'm
goes.
going to challenge you. That's the big identity. What I would encourage you to ask the Lord, who are you calling me to be in this season? And in one of his videos, he talks about how he calls each sheep by name. So we're all sons of the Most High God. But
Well,
you,
yeah,
Ron, have a
my,
unique name
my,
within
my
the herd.
unique name is Pathfinder and Connector. So,
That's great.
I'm that's the gift that God's given me in the kingdom is you start talking to me and I say, oh, you need to talk to this guy or you need to talk to this lady, and
So a
You,
connector.
you put that
yeah,
in the notes twice tonight. Keep like,
So,
yeah,
Ron, when we have our conversation, there will probably be a connector pathway that isn't working as effectively as it could. And the Lord will show us what that is.
yeah. It's
I'm
it,
excited.
it's so neat to see the collaboration and like you said, God's got people running the same path, but they don't know each other. Like I've been working. Have you heard of Ed Rush?
Mm-hmm.
I've been working with him for the last year and a half, and I go, I'm not going to be a coach, but I got to be a certified coach. But I just love being in this environment, in the community. It's just because
Thank you, Ron.
Carla, she's had MS for 45 years, and she doesn't know what's going on. She can walk across the street, and you ask her a question. Well, what did you sense? And she, I don't know. So I've turned into a caregiver. She's basically in a walker and a recliner, and I got a dresser and all of that kind of stuff. So that's kind of my right now is my main ministry is her. And God's changing my heart not to resent it, but to embrace it with love.
Thank you for sharing, Ron.
okay, Janine, and then if you want to talk, just hit that little button that says raise your hand so I know to call on you. So Janine, you're up next.
So I just want to testify to the power of knowing your identity. I've been walking with the Lord for many, many, many years. And Jamie Winship's teaching on it really has helped me tremendously. So my identity is I'm a river guide. I'm made to live in the river and I'm made to teach others how to live in the river. And knowing that has helped me and Cheryl and Forrest, both of things that you've said tonight about being in transition. I'm in transition as well. I don't have as much clarity as you guys do on the transition. And I don't believe it's out of ministry, but I believe that God is somehow reshaping the ministry that He's given me. But knowing my identity, that that helps to fuel the conversation with God about what does that look like now? What does that look like in this season? And so I just want to say thank you for that. And also, I'll just say I have had the super patch, the Ignite on. So I'm still waiting on my others to come in. And I've been on a health journey. I had lost almost 50 pounds, but not quite. And yesterday saw me 50.7 point down. So just with the Ignite in like a few days, it's helped kick my metabolism to get me past that mark. And I got to be honest with you, with like what I've been doing, I'm gonna cry. Um, I've been a little bit like, Lord, please help me see me through to the goal because weight loss has slowed down as my weight loss has increased. It's like the rate of it has slowed down. And so to just like the gift of having something that is now going to make the home stretch easier is just such a beautiful thing. Like I still need to focus on what I eat. I still need to focus on exercise. That's not changing. But to feel like the uh blessing of having something that's going to make it just I think a bit easier. The last part of it is amazing and I'm excited to see what the other things that I've ordered Peace, Rem and Lumi. So I'm excited to see what will happen with that.
So as you guys are playing with the patches and something happens, now you should all watch, Cheryl's got a playlist on YouTube. We've got the Super Patch playlist, which we keep adding to, and these recorded calls get put there. So as you're engaging with them, her calls, she's like anointed to do these calls. Most of the calls she recorded before, I thought she even knew what she was talking about. And I'm like, wow, where did you figure that all out from? But there are two videos on there with the balance test because you do want to be able to begin doing some testing with the patches. And then what I'm having to learn to do is, like when I'm working with Monica, I don't know what's going to happen when I put the patch on, but it's like put the camera on the tripod and film this just in case something happens. So use your camera, record your stories and testimonies so that we have them and the community has them. Okay, you guys, can you all do that for me, please, as we go forward?
So I want to piggyback on what Janine said, because Ignite, remember, these are all double-blind placebo EEG testing, and Ignite was tested on the metabolism rate in the body, and the average increase is 25% calorie burn at rest. That's what they say in the company. So when I heard that it's increasing a calorie burn at rest, I just heard the Lord say, when a brain pathway gets into balance, it's not about working harder, it's entering into the rest of what that brain pathway can do for you. When you really get an epiphany on a balanced brain pathway, that's why I was able to do those videos like 6 weeks ago when I only knew this much compared to what I feel like I know now, which there's still much more to learn. I had the epiphany and I understood what those brain pathways could do. So thank you for sharing that, Janine, because in this process of metabolism improving at rest, you just might have some insights.
That's the other thing you found. Watch for the emotional connection to what's going on. So, Dorothea, you're unmuted. Did you want to say something?
I did. I don't know how you raised your hand. That the hand came up and I'm looking at all these
What happens is
buttons.
you have this thought in the cerebellum, and it says, I'd like to raise my hand. Now it goes down from here to the frontal lobe goes to the cerebellum,
Okay,
sends
let
nerve
let
signals
her
down,
talk. You've already talked.
and then you go, oh, that worked. And then next time it's easier.
So I can't remember the last time I said anything, but I walked even further distances without any assistance, even going long ways across parking lots and just, I'm not using a cart, I'm just walking. And sometimes my legs feel like a little weird and I'm trying to shovel. And I said, no, you can walk. You don't have to shovel. You can walk. And I have to patch on. I say, hey, you're walking, remember? And then my legs just straighten up, my back straightens up, and I have this oomph in my step. And it feels so liberating. I mean, it's so liberating. And I have so many people at my work that have like herniated discs, and I'm trying to tell them about these patches. And they say, well, maybe, maybe not. And I'm saying, I'm going to get you some patches, because they had surgery, they had this treatment, that treatment, nothing helps. And from what I just hear, it's just incredible. I think it's just like you said, it's the combination of maybe one or two patches, like for nerve pain.
So Dorothea, I've mentioned this somewhere. I think it's in the notes that'll be put on the Facebook group page. But the 4 patches that Dr. Anna uses in the hospital with the hospital approval is Liberty for the balance. That also helps with posture. Peace for the nervous system, Defend so they don't get sick, and Lumi for the skin. Those are the 4 she puts people on that she does surgery on. So her videos are excellent. And we've got one on our playlist of her talking about, as a surgeon, why she uses them after surgery and why the hospital is going to do a study on doing patches for a higher success after post-surgery. So that should make more sense maybe in a medical environment than listening to a naturopath.
A fun one. The University of Arizona football team did a big study to see what happened to strengthen their athletes because all athletes have one side better than everybody's got a stronger side. And the other day I was swinging my clubs and I was like, my right hand grip was wobbly, my left hand grip was iron. And I was like, oh, don't have a patch on. Went and slapped the patch on my wrist. Guess what happened to my grip? I was like, well, that's a cool thing. So, um, anyway, other comments or
Anybody else want to say something? Because I want to make sure we save some time because I want to pray for you.
Yes, I really appreciate y'all's just incredible kindness and gentle heart and compassion, especially in light of what's happening in the world. I mean, you guys could have said, no, we're just going on with our program, but you did not. You stopped, you took time to dress and pray. And I love you guys' prayer and compassion that you show. It's not like we have to do X, Y, and Z, blah, 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 blah. No, we really care about you. And that is so incredible. And I'm so thankful for that. It's
Every
just
season is
incredible.
different. When we started this out, Cheryl was teaching at MOPS groups, Mothers of Preschool, because that was the season we were in. And she was encouraging mothers back then to eat healthy on behalf of their babies. That was 40 years ago, hauling our stuff in and out of MOPS groups with a baby in tow. And so each season, Dorothea, is different, and we show up for each season differently. And, COVID was a massive season shift. Everything changed. And then yesterday, I think that they hit on it. Yesterday's a turning point. It's a season shift. And, the World Trade Towers was a season shift. And the piece that Cheryl started out with is we were not designed to handle this. Therefore, we have to find the community and the skills
And
to
the
support.
tools.
Because, I listened to one chiropractor I know, he said, I've got a lady who got scoliosis of the liver. She was young, like 40 years old, and said, how did you get scoliosis? She said, well, during COVID, all of my friends had happy hour every day, and we usually drank a couple of bottles of wine.
That was cirrhosis of the liver, not
Cirrhosis.
scoliosis of the
Scoliosis.
liver.
And so she killed her liver doing happy hour online with her friends, drinking wine instead of going, it's like there's a season change, and she handled it differently than the rest of us did. So what we're hoping that what our goal is with this community is, we have our lifestyle for health, with still a lot of the clients coming in. We have our easy community, which is our membership. And then I told Cheryl we've got to do something with the patch piece because I don't want everybody to feel like we've just become patchers. Oh, that's a good word. I'm a patcher. You're a patcher. Wouldn't you like to be a patcher too?
A patcher. I'm a patcher. Woohoo.
Let me
Um,
patch you up. Let me
So
patch.
we want to give people the option to patch in. Oh, patch in. Remember the old phones? You had to patch the phones
Hey,
in.
we've got to pray.
So we want to give people the opportunity to patch into what they want to actually listen to. So welcome to our patcher community. And we
Well,
will be, for September at least, we'll be doing these every Thursday, just because Magdalena is off of work and she can join us on Thursdays. That's reason. Look at that. She's on here. She's not hiding behind the black wall. She's smiling. That makes me want to show up. And seeing Ron for the first time in a long time is great. And Doretta is always fun to see in Dorothea. Anyway,
And Darlene,
everybody's on here.
Marla, and
Okay,
Cindy.
people. And I just real quick, Ron and Anne and
Mark.
Mark, 30 seconds. Tell your testimony, Ron, real quick. Mark,
Mark.
tell your testimony real quick, Mark. 30 seconds.
You have to unmute
Unmute.
yourself.
Okay, 30 seconds. I fell 3 years ago, could hardly walk. About 8 months ago, it got so bad I couldn't even come upstairs. They wanted me on physical therapy, which I was having trouble doing. Went on Freedom Patch, and now I spend most of the day pain-free.
Amen.
Now, you did need 2 patches to be pain-free, right?
I used 2 patches to start with. I've been on 1 patch now since I've been able to do the physical therapy. I'm coming down to only needing 1 patch because I'm able to do the exercises.
See, that's what it does, is it increases capacity. That's so exciting.
So we do
Right.
have to, Dorothy and all of you, once I get to the end of September, right now I'm kind of overwhelmed. We've got about 100 people on patches that I'm trying to figure out what we're doing. That's why we're doing these calls for the training, because we have to, support that. But I will be finding a way to get videos onto our YouTube channel that are a little bit more detailed than what we've been doing in the easy group, so that those of you that can now move can actually start doing some strength and mobility training that's, we'll just call it, Ron, we'll call it age appropriate. Ron, I'll make it work for you, buddy.
Carol, can I just share real quick?
Sure.
Very quick. Okay. I haven't been dubious about this because I've been talking to Forrest, but the other 2 nights ago, we were up late and I didn't put on the peace patch and I didn't put on the REM. I did not have a good night. And that told me get with the program. It showed me that it really does work. And even this morning, I was a little bit melancholy because of what's going on. Put on the Liberty and the Lumi and the Peace Patch and the Peace Patch, Liberty. Well,
And the
there's
pink
one.
one, you probably put on the pink one.
No, shh.
No, I haven't done the pink one. I don't know what
Joy.
that
Was
No,
it Joy?
Oh, Joy. It's
Oh,
Joy.
the-
I bet it's
the book.
Joy.
No, Joy's yellow.
and the Boost one. And let me tell you, for me, I like it. It's very subtle. It is very easy. I feel normal. There's no rush. There's no at jitters. There's just nothing. And I just love it. It's just very calming. And thank you. It's a good thing.
You actually used a useful word, Doretta. When a brain pathway goes into balance, you feel what normal should feel like.
Yes.
And
Yes.
most of us with dysfunctional pathways, the old normal's been lost and our new normal isn't what it was ever intended to be.
Boy, I saw that with the piece. That is just
I just
amazing.
I figured out, Dorothea, when you're giving that shot in the butt in the hospital, just slap that Peach patch on, Liberty patch on right after that. Then watch them get up and go pee all by themselves.
Yeah, yeah.
We may be collaborating, but I still don't think like he does.
No.
Or-
Shot goes in, and then they think you're doing an alcohol swab, and you just go,
Okay.
Liberty patch.
Okay, we're going to stop because we're over an hour. Father God, I just thank you that you always have a plan for a season, that no matter what the world condition is, no matter what the enemy is doing, Father, you have been preparing people for such a time as this, just like you did with Esther. You prepared her and put her in the position to make a difference for such a time as that was. And Father, I thank you that you have been preparing many people, whether they knew it or not, for such a time as this. For such a time as this. Father, I thank you that what the enemy meant to destroy in Charlie, you will turn for good, and that this is a turning point for our nation to become one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Father, I thank you for each and every person on this call to hear from you who you've called them to be in this season. Who have you called them to be in this season? Where can they bring transformation with the unique skills that you have given them? Father, I thank you for revelation. I thank you for wisdom, for discernment, with understanding, for each and every person on this call, each and every person who listens to it later. Father, I thank you for the breakthroughs that we keep seeing. The Debbie, the Monica, Mark, Ann. Father, these changes they're so life-giving. It's not just the person who has the breakthrough, it's the people who get to witness these miraculous breakthroughs. And that we have an opportunity to go out and transform a world that's hurting, that doesn't have capacity to move because they're in pain or their bodies don't move, whatever it is, Lord. But first of all, Lord, I ask that they could come to you for a revelation on who you've called them to be. I ask that you would continue to show us our role in that transformation process. I ask, Father, that you be with Charlie's family as they are back in Arizona. I ask, Father, that you would heal his daughter's memory bank of what she saw happen to her father. Father, you can go in and bring healing to that part of her brain. Father, I ask that your massive arms wrap around his wife, Erica. Only you can bring a comfort that goes that deep. I ask that you comfort his team, his community. I ask that you comfort President Trump, who was like a father to him. It was his fourth son. Father, there's just a lot of hurting people right now, a lot of confused people, a lot of angry people. And I thank you, Father, that you are bringing forth change in this world, in this season, and that you're giving us an opportunity to walk out what you have called us to be in this season. We thank you for your wisdom, Lord. We thank you for your protection. And by the power of the blood, the cross, and the resurrection, I declare and decree that there will be no counterattacks, no retaliation, no retribution on this process, because you are King of Kings and you are Lord of Lords, and we walk in all the protection of Psalms 91. We receive all the blessings of Deuteronomy 28, and we declare and decree that you are the Most High God, and it is our honor and pleasure to serve you and to be about your business as kingdom multipliers for your purpose. We praise you and thank you, Father, in Jesus' name. Everybody said amen.